My name is Michael Steinberg, and welcome to the Future Motion Podcast, where we talk about everything that's coming down the line in the motion design industry, and where we also discuss cool VR, AR, XR, and metaverse things that are happening. So, today we have with us an amazing visual artist and photographer who goes by the name of Shxpir. You guys have got to look up his work. He's been getting into something I almost want to call new, or something I haven't really seen done too much. It's photogrammetry, and not just with your phone, but he's bringing them into a studio that's actually using over 100 cameras to capture a single 3D model. And it is so cool. And he's taking these models, bringing them into Cinema 4D, and just making jaw-dropping masterpieces. Like, I absolutely love it. And I feel like it goes a lot with what this podcast is about, which is the future of our industry. And I just feel we're going to see a lot more of this coming down the line. So anyway, I'm excited for this episode. I hope you guys are too. Let's just go ahead and get this going. Let's do this.
This is the Future Motion Podcast with your host, Michael Steinberg.
Shxpir, man, welcome to the podcast. How you doing, bud?
I'm good. Thank you for having me.
Absolutely, man. How you been? What you been up to this week?
It's Fashion Week in New York right now. I don't know which episode this is gonna be, but yeah, right now, as of we record, it's still in the middle of Fashion Week. So I was visual directing a show, so pretty busy for that, and finished the show. And then some fashion events, you just have to go say hello, just small talk to show your face. Yeah, but I think I'm done with this. So last night was my last fashion event I supposed to be at, I guess, and that's it.
Wow. Yeah, I saw your Instagram. You've been busy. And I love, too, Fashion Week because you can just go outside in Manhattan and you just know it's Fashion Week based on who's walking around.
Yeah, you see all these people, right? And they just like dress in an unusual way, and then a lot of models.
Yeah.
All the attractive people just walking around, right?
It like instantly goes to the higher class of Hunger Games. You're like, who are these people right now? And then you're like, oh, it's Fashion Week. It's got to be Fashion Week.
Yeah.
Every time. Dude, well, that's awesome, man. Well, I'm excited to hear about that. Do you got anything else going on? You've been going through to movies?
I'm actually almost in the mental breakdown right now because I have serious deadline that I don't think I'm able to pull it off. So yeah, I don't know what happened. Just all of a sudden, just put too much. Like I took too much jobs. Yeah. But anyway.
Yeah,
I think I overestimate my ability.
it's when you like don't know how to say no, so you just keep saying it. I think it's a way better problem to have than saying I don't have any work and I just need something to come in.
Well, but it's the kind of work that I took it just because for the sake of I just want to spread this thing out. Like the most of them are not really paying, so I'm just doing it as a favor or for very little money. And I just want to get this thing out because in fashion, I think people are so scared of 3D right now. And what I do is a little bit unusual. It's kind of very new. No, it is very new. I never seen anyone use it the way I use. So people just really scared of it. Like, I'm not joking. Like last month, I got canceled 4 times for job.
Okay.
They just come, they see something, like my agent sent the client something. They're like, oh, it's cool, we like it. And then they come, they have meeting with me, and then they realize, oh, it's 3D. And then they just hold my date, and then to the very last day, and then they choose some regular photographer, and then they just cancel it. They just sorry, we don't want anything to do with 3D.
Right. Yo, I absolutely love your work. That's why I'm so excited to have you on the podcast right now, because what you do is also super unique. So let's just go ahead and ask this question right off the bat. For anybody listening, can you kind of just go into exactly what you do and just kind of describe it step by step, because it's so unique, man, and different.
Okay, so first of all, I had to say I'm definitely honored you actually asked me to be on this podcast because I really don't think I'm good at 3D. Like I told you, the first time we met, I was only start to do 3D myself, like maybe 3-4 months, right?
Yep.
That was like, because I started like the beginning of April. It's the first time that I really used Blender. I did the donut. I made a donut. And then after that, and then just like, okay, I was just gonna do this. And then I'm a fashion photographer for 11 years. And before that, I actually studied fine art. So now I just kind of use 3D and some fashion photography technique, just like all mixed up together. So it's like a mixed media. So yeah, I'm just creating something kind of like fashion, but not really fashion, I guess. I really don't know how to market myself. I think my agent, they have big issue as right now because they like, you're not a photographer, you're not really a director, because I also make video. And then they just like, I also consult for fashion brands for their marketing strategy, stuff like that. So I really don't know. I don't know what I am. I just tell people I'm an artist. I'm an artist like everybody else in New York.
Love that. Yeah, man, because everything you're doing is just so different. I mean, it's like I'm seeing these 3D models, then yeah, I'm seeing photography, and then I'm seeing you get thanked at fashion shows for art directing. I'm like, God, what is it?
I don't know. I just have idea. I had to use them, right? And I'm really thankful that people really trust me for whatever. Like, I think they like my eyes, what I see, what I think, and they just use me. I'm thankful.
Feel like that's something where I wanted to even get in with you. And one thing that I'm excited to talk about is that I had Suki on, and I feel like I also had a photography background, and you excelled way past me. And I've only been in 3D for maybe like 2 years, but doing animation for a long time. But having such a strong photography background, and like you said, people see that you have a good eye for design. I think it's just super exciting for a lot of new people to see that if you are a good artist in other aspects in the field, when you translate that into 3D, it works. You can really take your eye, whether it's in like illustration, painting, photography, and when you switch over to 3D, a lot of that transfers over because instantly, man, within just being 3 to 4 months in, your photography, I feel like your work from what I've seen, how you shoot and a lot of these sets, that translates into 3D. And it's just, your work is beautiful.
Oh, thank you.
Yeah, and I think with photography too, it's just something where you learn a lot of these basic techniques where is somebody that just jumps into 3D won't have. You learn composition, you learn about lighting, which is just so crucial in 3D that a lot of people just don't understand.
Oh my God, the lighting for 3D, I actually love it because you actually don't have to ask some people on set. You're just like, hey, do you mind move this light over here and tweak it a little bit and then just this angle and then just test the light. No, you don't have to do that like in fashion. That's why I love 3D right now because I can literally just move the thumb. I'm gonna move that motherfucker, okay? If I say it's like 6 p.m., I wanna do 6 p.m., you know? We don't have to wait for all day or I don't know. To me, I really enjoying that part. Yeah.
Let's just ask, so I just want to know, how did you get into this field? Where did you start exactly? into photography, or did you always want to be a photographer, or did you start off doing anything else like drawing or anything?
Yeah, so I would say everything in my life is very unexpected. I never thought I would be a photographer. Like when I was younger, not even a thought. I just really like art. First of all, I think I always an art person. So when I was younger, I watch a lot of Japanese anime and I just draw these little thing, and then my mom, Chinese parents, they really don't support that. But after so many years, I draw so many things. And then they just like, okay, they kind of gave up. So they found me a tutor. So I start to paint. So when I was 14, and then I become like an art student. So back in China, if you decide you want to be an art student, you will be kind of like put in a special class, at least in my school. So we can kind of skip math class. So that's a good thing for me as well, because I'm just not really good at math. And then, so yeah, so I start to paint, and then I just did like the whole painting for my junior high and high school. And then after that, I went to college in Yunnan, this province in China. So I studied contemporary media art. The reason I choose it because I was a little bit tired of painting and I don't think I was really good at it. So I thought maybe I can see some other format of art, right? That's what I was thinking. So that's the kind of like very new and weird major in my school. I think we are the first bunch actually studied it because
Really?
it's so new. It's called contemporary media art. So they encourage you to use any kind of media to create your art, but at the same time, they want to teach you everything. So I actually studied a little bit 3D, not a lot. We had to learn a little bit 3D X Max at school, but that was like 16 years ago. You know how 3D looked like. I wasn't interested at all. I hate that class so
Yep.
much. So only after a few months, I had to transfer. So I start to get really into Flash. Remember that software?
Yeah.
Yeah. Because Flash was hip, Flash
Right.
was really cool. Everybody was
Yep.
using it. All the websites so flashy, when you open it. So that's what I did, and I thought, okay, I'm gonna be an artist. Also, I kind of did a little bit of sculpting and installation, and at the same time, I interned assisting for some well-established artists in China, and then sometimes I host their show, help them to do exhibitions. So I would just start to take photo for them to document the whole thing. Most of the artists I assist is contemporary artists. They do weird stuff like installation. I just do all that, but I thought that was my way to get into art. That's how I always thought I will be, somewhat like artist or at least like art installator.
Oh, an art. Interesting.
Yeah, because that's what I study, and I really like the whole installation part of the art because I get to explore different material and then use them. But somehow like life just took you to whatever the journey they want. So one time I get asked a favor, like I was doing a favor, so I'm helping a Chinese big art magazine to do some photography for a Chinese installation artist. So I went to the show, and then at the art show, they decide they want to put a model in there. So I just take photos with the art and the model, and then there's a makeup artist on set. She saw my work, which is nothing about fashion. It's a lot of nudity, a lot of don't make sense installation art pieces with weird stuff. But she just think I have potential to do fashion. And then she introduced me to Elle magazine next week after that. And then we had lunch with Elle magazine. And then I start to shoot for them. And then after one story out, everyone likes it and everyone start to hire me as a fashion photographer. It just took off, but I never even planned it. I didn't know fashion at all.
Yeah. That's kind of what happens, man. I actually had a little bit of a similar story where I was doing a little videography, doing kind of like I was at school. and one of my teachers recommended me to one of his friends to shoot this piano concert he was at. So I was just kind of shooting some video, and there was a photographer on set, and they were like, "Can I see your camera? Because you're getting like really bold with a lot of your shots. You're going on the stage and you're getting these fun angles." I just showed him my camera and what I was shooting with video. They're like, "You can do this with pictures, right?" I was like, "I mean, it's just a picture versus a video." And yeah, I got hired to do hundreds of weddings. So
Oh wow, that's cool.
yeah, like they were like high-end $1 million weddings and stuff. It was just one of those things where, yeah, you just don't know where life's going to take you. You know, you just keep doing the best you can at every opportunity and things just come your way. So in your internships, were you getting that through school, or is that something you just kind of pursued on your own?
I pursued my own. Like I was so young and so stupid and so I have this confidence come from nowhere. Seriously, I was really just saw a post on the street one day. I saw they are hosting an art exhibition. It looks very international. There's artists coming from Europe, blah blah. And I was like, oh, that's cool. So I actually just went to that studio because they also have the address, whatever. I don't exactly remember, but I somehow managed to find them, and it's really close to my school. So I knocked the door. It's all white people. Somehow in China, you open, you open a door. It's like all white people, and I was like, "What the fuck?" So my English is not really. My English is still broken right now, but like back then, my English was so poor. You know, like I can speak some, but not like at this level. So I would just kind of introduce myself a little bit, and then I told them I want to find a job or whatever, internship, if I could, you know, blah, blah. Basically just introduce yourself. And then they actually took me. And then I had to say, like, these artists or the foundation organizers, they are so nice. They treat me so well for those years. They took me to everywhere. So I did open my eyes a bit. So I see more opportunity. I see more possibility, and I think I understand art and how art industry works better. Yeah, so that's how it happened.
Nice. Yeah.
Yeah, they didn't ask. No one asked. I did.
Well, so when you got into the job, going into from kind of internship into the working field, what was that transition like for you? And then what was that leveling up process? Because now you're in America, right? I mean, New York.
Right.
So yeah, how did you go from being an intern, and then what was that journey like in China? And then what made you make a decision to pack up and move across the world?
Yeah, I actually did a lot in my life. So while I intern for them, of course, there's no pay, but they're actually really nice. They provide me a apartment to stay at, stay in. So I stay in that apartment for like 2 years almost. So at the same time, I had to make some money to live, to eat, whatever.
Right.
So I was also a professional dancer.
What?
I actually danced for some Chinese
Jesus.
pop star, big names, like, but I'm not gonna name anymore. But you know, because I don't want to associate with that part anymore. But
Okay.
I
Wow.
also work in the club. But basically, I had a really busy life. So in the evening, I work in the club till 4 a.m. And then I will wake up 8 a.m. Then just help these artists to do something. You know, sometimes they don't ask me to work every day, which is good. You know, so I just work like few days for them. And then in the afternoon, usually I would just go to a gym and then teach a dance class or whatever. And the rest of the time, I just do my own stuff. And then I started a design studio with a really good friend of mine there. And we start to do all these design. And I was pretty good at Flash and Illustrator because the Victor art was on trend. So we actually did manage to make some money out of it. But after 2 years, I just think the city I was at is called Kunming. It's the capital city of that province, Yunnan province, but I think it's too small for me. So I moved to Shanghai in 2007 or 2008. Yeah. Then after in Shanghai, because my ex-boss from the art foundation, they introduced me to some people, so I'm able to just to get some work, but still not enough. So I took a full-time job at a fashion company, just help them to do some catalog design and writing some copyright for their catalogs. Really, I wouldn't say stupid, but it's like tacky words, make the girl open the catalog feel good, you know.
Basic.
I did that for 3 years at the same time because I already started working as a fashion photographer. So on the weekend, I would just focus to do my own personal test shoot because I knew, okay, so if I want to do fashion, I want to have more work in my book, more fashion work. So I would just organize my own shoot. So basically I nonstop, I always work on few jobs. But after 3 years, I quit that job and then I moved to Australia because there's opportunity. So I just went to Australia. So I live in Australia for 4 or 5 years. And then I'm now in New York this is my 8th year.
Wow.
Isn't that crazy?
I can't even comprehend it, man. Your life is just amazing. You got to write a book, man. I don't even think we're going to be able to get everything everybody wants to hear in this one podcast.
Yeah, sometimes when I think about it, I was like, I have done a lot in my life. Yeah, a lot.
Okay, so I just want to, because one of the hardest challenges, I think, for most artists is kind of taking a leap of moving from a smaller town to a bigger town for work. So if you can maybe just tell me, like, what was kind of going through a little bit of your head going from a small town to a bigger town, and that was in China, correct? And then from China, how do you even, not to say we have so many international listeners here, but how do you then go from a country to another country? Like, what is your thought process on that? And was it purely for work, or is it mainly for adventure, or both?
When I was younger, I always knew I want to live in another country. Like, no doubt. Like, when I watch Japanese anime, and you know what, like, the first time I had, remember when we still have these Walkman? The first, how do you say that, tape, right? Music
Oh, yeah,
tape.
like a cassette tape?
Cassette tape, yeah. The first one I got is Michael Jackson.
Nice.
It's so different than what everybody else around me listened to, because they listen to whatever, all these like Cantonese music, because Cantonese music was really on trend. But to me, I think back then, not now anymore, like back then, I think all the Chinese music and TV show, or they always just sing sad songs. And even the TV show, it's always about sad family issue. I'm not that kind of person. I'm like, really, I want high energy. I like vibrant stuff. I like vibe. Also, I think, I'm not saying good or bad. It's just very different. But, when I was younger, I was like, I want to able to dance that kind of music, blah, blah. So, like always, I think I'm just drawn into that kind of high energy culture. But back then, I didn't understand it's American culture. But now we grow up, we know, okay, it's because it's all Hollywood, whatever.
Yeah.
It's just like influence the words. It's good and bad. Now, like, I'm a little bit older. I'm actually a little bit tired of it. And I start to appreciate my Chinese side more and more every day.
Wow,
Because
right.
I think my art is very subtle. I still have my Chinese side in my art work. And then I just moved to Shanghai. And I really like Shanghai. And then after that, I was looking for opportunity to go study abroad. So I actually studied French for 2 years, also on the spread time. So I passed my French test.
Wow.
I get a really high score. And I got the school at Marseille. I didn't get the visa in the end. So either I choose to stay one more year and then go for that, because the school you had to wait for one more year if you don't go.
Oh, okay.
Or I go somewhere else. And then there's opportunity, I can go to Sydney, Australia for a bit, and then I just went.
I love that you learned French and then went to Australia.
I know, right? And I never even learned English. I'm telling you, like, that's my life. If I learn anything on purpose, I would never do it. That's how I feel. Like, okay, I learned art, I learned dance. Actually, I learned this. I never actually able to do it for living, but if anything, I just pick up on the way.
Right.
Honey, like I'm using it. It pays my bill.
Right. So how did you get to Sydney, Australia? So you got that offer through your job or school?
It's something else, but yeah. Okay. It's personal issue.
Okay.
It's personal. So, but basically, I went. Like, I was kind of doubting because I never thought about go to Australia. Because my first option is France, and then maybe England, and then maybe America.
Wow.
But Australia. Who would ever even thought about Australia if you're an artist? I guess nobody.
Right.
I'm sorry if any Australian listen to this, they're gonna be mad. There's so many Australians in New York, you have no idea.
Yeah.
So yeah, basically I just went to Australia, I enjoyed the lifestyle, but after 4 years, I feel like remember that was my first time moving to a majority white country.
Right.
That was my first time start to realize there is racism. Because when you grow up with all the Asian around you, everyone looks the same. You don't have this racist idea in your mind. You don't know what it is. You don't know how. But I went to Australia, and I think Australia, they are even less politically correct than America, right? So people, they would just say things so randomly in front of you and then make you feel like, oh, so I am Asian, so you do think a bit less
Wow.
of me, right? For example, I was just showing my book in the agency, and then the agent would literally just tell me why you have so many Asian model in your book, and I would never even thought about it.
Wow.
Because that's not a problem. Like, because I'm from Shanghai. What the fuck? What do you mean I'm from Shanghai? Of course I'm shooting a lot of Asian model, right? And then she followed this. She said, but in Australia, Asians are minority. I don't think the audience really care about them. Oh, wow.
Yeah.
But like, remember this was back in like 2010, 2011, I guess, 2011.
Right.
So you see, like, of course, things are changing, things are progressing, right? But I think 10 years ago, things are a bit different.
Absolutely.
I think nowadays definitely better now for sure.
Yeah.
But that kind of made me think a little bit more. And for the work I was doing in Australia, a lot of them just not as what I wanted. It's just the team that I work there, the style, whatever. I just feel like, no, I need to do more. So I came to New York after that. And then I just signed the agency real quick here. And then they actually rushed me to move here sooner than I expected. Because I was just here 2012 or 2013 for a little quick trip, visit a friend. And then I stay here for 30 days. She's busy, so I have all this time. So I just start to email agency here. And then I met a few of them, maybe like 5 or 4 of them. I think 2 of them gave me an offer. And it's like, hey, like if you want to sign with us. But so I signed with one of them. And then after that, I went back to Australia. They keep emailing me every month. When are you coming? When are you coming? When are you coming? And I was like, okay, cool. I should go. So I just moved here 2014, early 2014. Yeah, that's how I ended here.
I love that. And that's one thing, man. People need to, I think, reach out of their bubble if they want to move to a big city, kind of like you did. And I think that's a great idea, is going to a city and finding either a friend or even if it's an Airbnb and going up and then just start applying or checking out areas, because New York just has so much opportunity. Same with LA and these big cities. It's just crazy. In Charlotte, I'm not even kidding you, in 1 month, there might be 4 job opportunities for motion graphics. And in New York, there's probably about 20 postings a week on Google.
Really? I would like to know where these jobs at.
I thought you said you had too much work. You need more work?
But the work, like I said, right now, I'm really just doing a lot of favors, or maybe they call passion project. Also, I'm really busy on my own personal project.
Yeah.
I'm really just drawn into that. But like when it comes to paid jobs, to be honest, I think COVID did affect my industry quite a bit.
100%.
I'm just really lucky I have a good habit of saving. So I have a good amount of saving that support me to today
Wow.
for like almost 18 months, right?
Yeah, because I didn't even think about that, but being in the photography industry is very much a person to person kind of.
Yeah, you had to be on set and
Wow.
you had to rely on the team. You can't just do it yourself.
Right. That is, I didn't even
Yeah.
think about that. Yeah. So that must have really, because for my field, and I know you're getting into 3D now, but most of the stuff I'm also talking about is After Effects, which I'm excited to see what you start to do once you, if you learn After Effects. But
I am learning a little bit, but yeah, I'm not. Later we talk about like the stuff I do is so dirty and stupid. Like,
oh man, I'm excited to get into that. So let's just finish up the whole roundabout on how we're here right now. So you get to New York about 8 years ago. And I mean, I've seen your portfolio, and when I first met you, I just couldn't even believe the amount of top celebrities and idols and stuff that you've worked with and shot and done work with.
oh, thanks.
Yeah, so how did you go into your photography route in New York, and what was that coming up? And how did you also see your style change coming here, if you even did see your style change?
Yeah, I did. I actually sometimes I think I change my style on purpose. Sometimes I always kind of have a strategy. I will do things on a strategy base sometimes. I had to say that it's sometimes it's all calculated. But as we all know my story, when I calculate something, it never really happened. It was like other things happen. But I when I first moved here, I think my work was really like a bit too much because I'm an art student. I always just get I think my most influenced by Renaissance art and even Rococo back then. It's like I do believe okay, I tell people this is my style is too much is never enough. Because you know everyone's like less is more, less is more. I was like, no. I'm too much is never enough, you know? So that's how I market myself then. So also because I have all these installation background and sculpture, I would have to say I was the first Chinese photographer who built set in China. Back then, everyone just take location or they just do clean studio. But I was the only one. I went to the sculpture factory. I supervised all the sculpture. I did all these enlarged, huge props for my set for a few years. That's how I get my name in the industry and people really know me. And then after that, you know, I moved to New York. I do realize people here, first of all, it's too expensive for them to produce such big set and
Oh,
props.
100%.
And second of all, I don't think the prop stylists here, they not coming from like me, like installation or sculpture background. So they don't do things like that.
Right.
So I slowly just changed my style a little bit. I just use color and then I use still some props sometimes, but I actually liked it. I just think it's more mature. It's more classic, I guess. Also, I think my influence moved from Rococo to more like a neoclassicism and then more to like even modern or postmodern. So I would just reference artists a little bit more clean, but they use vibrant color. But I had to say I never reference from photo. I always reference from art, especially classic art or whatever, paintings. Yeah.
Interesting. So then you were working with the company, your art style develops. What was kind of like your career path going along with your evolution of style?
Okay, so like besides that 3 years working in a really tacky Chinese brand, right? I won't name it, but like it wasn't good. You know, right now a lot of Chinese brands, they are so cool. I love them. But back then 10, 15 years ago, it wasn't good. But that's my only time working in the office, and after that I just freelance. So, you know, I don't work for a company, so you know, I freelance for my whole life, I pretty much. So it really depends. Sometimes for commercial job, especially big paycheck jobs, there's not much freedom for creativity.
Right.
Because I think the photographer is on the last end pretty much because they already have the concept, they already have the script writer, and then they already have the art director and creative director. They already have the whole thing, the mood board, right? So they really just want to look for a photographer that capable to do that job. So you just do it and then you get paid. Somewhat they will kind of try to merge your style into a little bit, for example, like color or composition. But I think 80% just not really you. Just do it to pay your bill. But for magazines, there's more freedom to play with. But the thing is, magazine, they don't really have budgets. Sometimes you had to work with budget, not sometimes, all the time. And sometimes if you really like that project, you believe in it, as a photographer, you will pay some money to do it. So when I do magazine, I will have, like you said, if I change my style, I would say like when I first started, I knew I had to be different. So I see everyone's doing really clean, classic photography with model or background or location. So I knew I had to do something different, which is what I like anyways. I like a lot of color. I like a lot of props. For my early shoots, I'm not kidding. My shoot will involve like 3,000 props because small or large, you know, I just put them all together and then model pretty much disappear with all these props. That's my style, but it's very, very noticeable. So people see that photo, people think, oh, that's Shxpir. So that will help you to get some exposure. And that's what my advice for young artists. I think it's always nice to do something a little bit different when you were younger and you try to grow and try to get some attention. You should do that. But after that, I think you can be more yourself and then just calm down a little bit. I don't know, but just be more commercial friendly, I guess. Even though right now, I don't think my work is super commercial friendly, but yeah, that way. We are commercial artists. I'm not like a real artist. I do fake art. That's what people say.
Nah, man. No, your stuff is stunning. It is funny that you mentioned before the lack of control you sometimes get on bigger projects because it really, the bigger the project, it's kind of like the more delegated each little thing gets to a different artist.
Yeah.
It's like, I'm sure if you talk to the storyboard person we had here, they'd be like, yeah, well, you know, so we had someone else illustrate, we had someone else buy the props, we had someone else do that. All I did was just say, I like red.
Yeah, you really just be on set and then click the button and then maybe direct the lighting a little bit. That's it. Which I really have no problem to do. I never had any of the argument about creative because here's the thing. We are commercial artists. We do for commercial project. Your work is not gonna hang in gallery. So they pay you. I think they understand their own brand better than you are.
Right.
That's how I see this thing. So I never get mad or anything. I know a lot of artists, they always just, ooh, commercial clients are stupid, blah, blah, blah. I'm just like, they pay me good money. And what I do is just to help them to achieve whatever they want. I will help whatever I can. So I'm so happy to be on that kind of project.
Well, I want to ask one thing that I love is you have worked with a lot of major artists. And I think in 3D, a lot of times you do, but there's always like, it's virtual. You don't actually work with a lot of major artists, but I think now with NFTs, there's this thing where celebrities are reaching out and kind of wanting to do one-on-one art projects for something for them to sell on their platform. Same with like a lot of bands. Art is very much becoming a bigger part with other mediums of art, like music and producers and actors. So working with, I know you, one of my favorites, Megan Thee Stallion. I know you did some photography with her and some other models.
She's amazing. Yeah.
What other kind of icons, who else have you worked with, and how do you go about presenting working with these kind of people? Do you just kind of like stay quiet, or do you kind of like direct a little bit? Or I have no idea.
Well, that's something I can't really talk here. It's
okay.
It's gonna be awkward to talk about. But I had to say, yeah, working with celebrity and the verse working with models are completely different.
Interesting.
Because models, they already have this idea. I'm a model. I'm here to work with the photographer to create something new. Because models, they don't have a personal brand, I would say, right? They do, but I mean, like, they already accept they will be changed each
Right.
shoot, right? But celebrity is different. I think celebrity is more like commercial work because they already have their own personal brand. They will have to maintain that brand for a period of time. It just have to suit their music career or acting career. It has to be there. I totally understand. So when I work with them, I just treat it as a commercial job. It's the same thing. So whatever they want to achieve, if that's their goal, I help them. So when you work with them, some of them also it depends on the personality. Some celebrities are so nice, so down to earth. You just feel like he's not even there or something, you know. You just like hang out with them a little bit. And then after that, they will even ask your phone number or whatever. They actually want to keep in touch.
Wow.
Some of them are, when you see them in other media, like TV, whatever, they seems like so loud and out, but in person, they are so quiet. Usually, it's always the opposite.
Oh, interesting.
That's how I found. Yeah, like Megan is so quiet, super quiet.
Really?
Yeah.
I love
But
that.
she's really, really nice. She's really, really nice. Yeah, I love her and she's gorgeous. Her body is amazing. Her face is amazing. I feel like after the shoot, we don't even need to retouch her photo. I feel
Right.
like we don't need to because it's already
How could
good.
you?
Her body just
Yeah.
there. So it's actually very impressive to me. That's what I remember. Yeah.
Yeah, I love that. And I've heard other people say that a lot of celebrities are completely the opposite of
Well,
like what you expect when
you you cannot imagine.
some of the nicest guys are just complete dicks, and some of the people that play the nice role is like actually the most craziest
Usually,
party you've
yes.
ever met.
If they have this nice persona out there, sometimes, yeah, they are not that nice.
Yeah. It might be what makes them so good is they're able to play both parts. They know
I
how.
also think maybe, because they always act like, not act, I think everyone has different side of them. They just
Yeah.
feel more comfortable maybe in a private place. They just are more chill. But I do say also, like, I've seen so many female celebrities, they are two different person with and without, like personality wise. When they put makeup, they transfer completely, even personality wise, just change so dramatically. You have no idea. I was like, what?
I love that. I
Yeah.
love that.
Yeah.
That's too funny. But if I ever meet any of my celebrities, they'd better act like they are in the movie, not in.
Not gonna happen. Yeah.
Well, cool. So that's like one of the most amazing, fun, creative, just wild in-field stories. So then how did you go from this photography to getting 3D models? A, how did you get introduced to it? And then B, what is that like? And what are you doing with it? Guys, I mean, everything on your Instagram is just mind-blowing.
Oh, thank you. That's a big compliment. Recently I have this thought because I really hate my Instagram and all these photos I put up there. I even download this app. It's called Mass Delete or something. I just want to delete my whole Instagram. But somehow that app didn't work for me. Like I can't log in to my account. It really bothers me. So that holds me back. I couldn't delete my Instagram.
I'm so glad that your Instagram is still there.
Because I
Thank
actually
God.
never liked my work.
It's the world trying to tell you something.
Oh, but thank you so much. I don't know, like I always feel, I don't know, like about my work. I really don't think they are amazing or anything. I think they're okay. They can be out there for some reason, but not, yeah, I don't know. I don't want to talk about it. Like when I look at my work, it's so torturing. I never hang any of my work at home. Never in my whole life. When my friends they have a new house, whatever, they always ask me, "Hey, can I have this as a gift? Could you print me one?" I was like, "No, you're not gonna hang my work at your place. No way, you know. I don't want to see that when I visit you." I just don't want anything to do with it because I don't know.
Wow, you really are a true artist. The hatred of your own work is amazing.
No, but first of all, it's fashion. It only lasts 2 months, right?
Yeah.
Fashion photography only lasts 2 months. After 2 months, it's just it expire because the new clothes are coming.
Right.
So that's
Yeah.
only I think only serve that purpose. That's why when I look at my Instagram, I always say, "Oh my God, that's so old." Oh my God, that designer doesn't even in charge anymore. Like when you look
Right.
at it, it's just like I have all these thoughts. But so since maybe a little bit about 2 years ago, I start to do some like researching because I was thinking maybe I want to go back to my younger me, just doing all the too much is never enough style, but in New York, it's kind of hard to produce. So I was thinking, okay, maybe I can use like a virtual way. So I actually look into some virtual studio, like they will have this 360 LED screen. You know what I'm talking about? Like
100%, man. Those things, that's what's coming out with The Mandalorian and doing.
yeah, exactly. So
Yeah.
that's when I start to looking for all these studio for possibility, and then slowly I just learned a little bit more, and I was like, okay, you had to use 3D software for this and that and that and that, and then I just asked my friend, hey, do you know any art like 3D artists? And then they introduced me to Phil, and then I start to talk to them, and then I start to try things with them. They were really keen. Some of them came to try stuff with me. So I would just take a photo and then I bought a 360 camera. So I would just make a HDRI and then send it to them. And then they would just merge my photo with some 3D element. And then I would just, tell them maybe the lighting, you had to do this a little bit more and that. And then after that, it just looked very realistic. A lot of people even ask us, how did you move all these maybe like 20 tons of rock into studio? And I was like, wow, that's just, like it's just 3D. And then that's the first time I taste it, right? Now I feel like, okay, 3D might be a good way for me to, develop my style a little bit more. So I look into more.
So you were doing 360 photography. Curious on exactly the process you used. I used to, when I started, use 12 GoPros, which stitching was a nightmare that took hours. But so when you were doing the 360 photography, how'd you do that? And then B, so you were sending that to virtual studios and they were
Oh
implementing
no,
that as.
the virtual studio was too expensive for
Oh,
me.
okay.
Even I can't afford it because no client, also fashion client, they always a little bit behind. I'm so sorry, fashion people, but you guys are always a little bit behind. Like they want to see everyone else already using the technology, and then they would jump into it. They are always not the first one who's high tech. I'm so sorry. Like I always feel that way because I'm really into technology. Whatever involved, I always want to try. But like the virtual studio too expensive, so that's not an option. So that's why I start to work with 3D artists as just Photoshop comp.
Gotcha.
So they just make environment for me and then put my models in there. So I bought this 360 camera, like little one, just to help them to match the lighting. So I would just make a lighting map, HDRI, on set after the model, and then I'll just put the camera where models stand, and then just take a 360 shot, and then just it's really easy. That software just make a HDRI, send to them, and then they able to match the lighting. If it's not right, I will have Zoom call and then just tell them where to add light, where to blah blah. So yeah, it's a lot about lighting. But after I done that for a while, I did have some bad experience because first of all, I think people in 3D, especially CGI or VFX industry, they don't really care about fashion.
Right.
Not a bad thing. Not everybody should love fashion. I don't think if you like it, like it. Don't like it, don't like it. So it's about the mutual understanding. They don't really understand it. They don't want to spend too much money, too much time on some project. So which would stress me out. And sometimes I do taste a little bit like attitude. And and then I feel like, okay, and they don't really show the clothes in a good way, right? So after that, I'm like, okay, I'm gonna just study myself Well, also, I think when I talk to them, I already have some knowledge, not like zero, right? Like, because I studied 3D X Max back in university, I kind of
Right.
know the material, how UV work, blah, blah, just not really good at it. But then I just download Blender and I found, okay, my computer is not good enough. So I went to get like a good computer. Not good computer. I'm still working on shitty laptops. So a better laptop that
Yeah.
cost me like 1,400, and then I
Yeah.
start to use Blender, and then I found Blender is really confusing. I finished few things that my personal thing. I didn't really like it. It's just there's things I want to make. I wouldn't able to make it in Blender. I'm not saying Blender is a fantastic tool, but I feel like maybe the community in Blender, they are really more because you can see the people who speak in Blender, right? Like even Huber or some other people. Like so leaders like this, they would just take a lot of fans to do similar work. So you will end up just when you research tutorial, you only find a very similar tutorial. And I didn't know anything about Blender or 3D. So I couldn't find the things I want to do in Blender tutorial on YouTube. So I actually found it on Cinema 4D community. So I start to try Cinema 4D and I found it's easier. I mean, maybe not easier, but it's more what I need. That's how I choose end up with Cinema 4D. So now I'm just in charge of my own stuff. I don't have to take other people's attitude. And I don't have to be the bad person always tell you this is wrong, you should do this. I hate to do that too. So sometimes I'm too nice to tell people no. I was just like, maybe what if, so now I'm just like
Yeah.
completely in charge of my shit. So I was like, I'm good. So yeah.
Love that. So when it comes to Blender versus Cinema 4D, and besides the things you were looking to do that you just felt Cinema 4D was better at because that's what you were wanting to do, besides those key things, was there anything else that you thought Blender was either better or worse at in Cinema 4D?
You know what? I actually still use Blender. Sometimes I like Blender's sculpting tool better than Cinema 4D. So if I do, as you know, like 90% of my 3D work is 3D scanned model involved. We had to do a lot of cleanup, right? It's impossible to clean up in Cinema 4D. I feel like they suck at it. But in Blender, it's actually much easier, and it's also I think it's easier for like if you just want to do a dirty job of the retopology, there's a way to do it, and then you can re-project the material on in Blender. It's easier. Cinema 4D, I haven't find a good solution yet, so that's what I do. But that's really just like if we have a job that have zero budget, you just had to do everything like in a dirty way, but kind of like lower details that you don't have to show like super close up face or anything. If it's just like a full body shot in the whatever the environment, that will work. So I still use that for Blender. But the only thing I choose Cinema 4D is when you Google Blender tutorial, most of them are modeling tutorial, which I'm not looking to be a modeler because I already knew I don't want to be a modeler, right? So I just want to create the environment for my model. Yeah, so in maybe a little bit animation. And the Cinema 4D, when you Google Cinema 4D tutorial, there's more on that side. Like people just show you how to create grass, how to create mountain, how to create this and that. So that's the reason I get into Cinema 4D. Also because all these MoGraph tool, it's really easy for me as an idiot. Like that just helped me to make things move so much easier. So I don't have to like tweak everything or whatever. So that really the reason. So I still use both.
Right. Okay, I'm glad because I've kind of had that feeling that Blender had a bit more better when it comes to like fixing models, and I've heard that too. And even just modeling, like it's got better
The
tools.
modeling is so much better, actually. I actually modeled some little things for my own project in Blender because I feel like the Blender, the whole thing, that bevel or whatever, so easy. It's just because you have the shortcut and you just click it and then just so quick. In Cinema 4D, oh my god, I can't even talk about it. I hate modeling in Cinema 4D. It sucks. And sculpting, it sucks.
Yeah, it's not ideal. I'm even getting into the VR modeling, but we'll get into VR here in a second. So, I guess lastly, your work, it looks like you're doing this volumetric photography on models or photogrammetry, and you're getting these models. A, how did you get into that? B, that is just so cool. So how do you get the models? Is this for like a company that you're doing this? Yeah, just tell me all about your process and that whole story that you've been, because that's a newish thing you're doing, correct?
Yeah, so right now I'm really trying to make this my next, I'm already doing it. Actually, I've been doing it for a while. So this company, shout out to my buddy Ivan, who started this company, NYC-3D. You guys should check them out. So he started the company. I think he was also just learning and trying to figure things out back in 2020. So that's the first time we met because his studio was really close to my photography studio. It's in Navy Yard, but he just across street. So one time I was just Googling 3D scan, and somehow I found somewhere in Soho. That was pandemic already. I think they closed. And then the people referred me to him, says he actually have 3D scan. So I called him. I was directing a show, a digital show for New York Fashion Week. So we want to try 3D scan a model. So that's the first time I work with him. But back then, his equipment, whatever, was also kind of not mature, right? So the result we got wasn't great. So we just have to went with it. But like, because I'm just really open to try things. So I think Ivan was also like, we just talk about it. Like I would just tell him, how do I think about these? Like maybe which way will improve. So I actually gave him some tips, like what kind of lighting stroke, because he was using LED to light the set, which it make the camera has to go really low speed. So when you have low speed, you have motion blur. Once you have motion blur, your model is not coming out great because it's not sharp.
Right.
So I gave him some tips just using my photography background. I just tell him, maybe you should just use this light, this light, this light, and how to light them, and then how to sync them. So he would just also slowly develop his machine. And now he has two completely high-res, super nice setup. Is one for head scan, another one for full body scan. And even now, we kind of like a partnering on this now. He will support me on some my personal project. I will bring him some job over there and there. But we're also just trying to make something new. I can't really tell you yet, but like he's trying to make that side of the things happening. So yeah, so what I'm doing right now, same thing. I think it's still like a photo, but right now we just take 200 photos instead of one. Just take 200 photos at the same time, photogrammetry, and then just use reality capture to make the 3D model out of it. And then for my use, I just clean up a little bit, and then sometimes I rig them a little bit to make them move a little bit, and then Cinema 4D to create the environment, and then just put there. Sometimes Substance Painter to create the texture, stuff like that. Yeah.
Wow.
So-
Yeah, that is crazy. I love that. I feel like it's going to be such a big field with photogrammetry coming up. I think that as VR comes out, I'm even tempted to do it one day for like VR chat and just get an actual full body scan of me and just rig it up and put myself in VR chat with a
That would be
human.
cool. Yeah, that would be cool.
I feel like there's going to be a major demand for having avatars. I think it'll even get to the point I mean, and you guys are just so ahead of the game with that and what you're doing. And I think it'll get to the point where it's like people are just coming in lines to get this done as VR. You might even see it going into malls even because it's just bad at like having a human model of yourself in VR would be so fun. Like I've tried to even make fake 3D models that look like me, and I'm so not good at modeling, especially in Cinema 4D.
Yeah. 3D scan is definitely more accurate when it comes to avatar, whatever. But also, I think shout out to Ivan again. He's trying so hard right now to develop this automatic system that you can click one button and then everything just go through, collect all the data, and then just process the model itself, and then very fast. I mean, he's working on that. But I think once he have that, it will be a game changer. So these things are not only catered to high budget movie or high budget video game anymore. Because right now, people using photogrammetry mostly are in superhero movie. They would just make an avatar to have the 3D print it out and then make the armor because it's more accurate, close to the actor's body. Or they would do like a digital double. Or video game, they just scan them, just create the video game character. So no one really uses it in fashion. So I think I'm the first one. I would say, I'm the first one who used the 3D grammetry like this in fashion. And as a photographer, I would say, I'm just doing something new, but also that scares people because they have no idea how that works. But I would have to say, like, photogrammetry has some limitation. A lot of material like fur or hard surface, like a shiny hard surface object, or like diamonds or that kind of transparent stuff, lace, or any kind of too shiny object just cannot scan. I think they need to develop this. I don't know how can they do it, but I hope in 5 years or 3 years this will get solved. Like right now you can't scan hair.
Wow, really? Wow. And I think I remember you were telling me a bit about the process with eyeballs, right? Like, so when you
the eyeball, because it's, even we don't notice it, but the eyeball is actually reflecting stuff, right? There's always a spectrum material on top of it. So when you scan, your eyeball is almost like disappearing, almost. So when you see the model, it doesn't go out, it actually go in.
Wow.
I think that's what makes 3D scan look less human than model. But what we do right now, we actually replace the eyes. When we scan model, we take off their fake eyelashes, whatever, just as smooth as we can, and then after that we will add it back, right? So that's how I figured this out. But also we developed this pipeline. It's kind of unusual. It's not like the game way, it's not really like the movie way. So we kind of like in a fashion usable way. It's like financially kind of affordable, but we're not go crazy on detail either.
Right.
So it's like a fine balance.
Yeah, I even see, and just taking a step back a bit to even just the general usage of photogrammetry, and where I see you guys could just be getting so much work in is, I think that going back into VR, besides just having the practical social application of it and even doing meetings and stuff like that, is I think there's going to be virtual movies, kind of like you were saying, where because some people think, oh, I want to watch a movie in VR, I'll use a 360 camera. But a 360 camera isn't actually 3D. You have to stay still and you can turn your head, but you can't look right around the object.
Right.
You know?
Right.
You're static. So to have an actual actor, or with short films, anything, you have to actually have a 3D model.
Yeah.
So I could totally see that stuff just as VR comes out even more and more, and or AR, I could see that taking off. And with the eyeballs, I wouldn't be surprised if there was like AI came out, especially like in videos. You just take photos of the
hair,
eyes.
That really it's a struggle right now. I'm learning how to create hair, which is a mess.
You have to tell me.
Similar for the hair tool is a mess. That's what I say. Like, it's terrible.
Yeah.
But that's what I had to do because the model cannot really have flowy hair. So there's no movement. So some model I just had to do it. But right now, even iPhone came with LiDAR, right? I think 3D scan is
Yeah.
gonna be the future. Even in fashion industry, people don't see it, they scared of it, or they just don't want to have anything to do with it. But I think in 5 or 10 years, when all these billboard all change to LED, the motion is the future. And that's why TikTok is taking over Instagram, because people like to see things moving with sound or music, whatever. I just think that's a new thing. And when new things coming out, people always hate on it,
Yeah.
which I understand. When you go back to the whole art history, when there's a new art movement, all the artists always get hate on it. So right now, yeah, what we do, get hate, that's normal, I think.
Yeah.
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 I've been called fake art like a few times. I was like, okay, I'm totally fine with it.
Yeah. I was gonna say the one thing I could totally see you rocking out in the future. And one of the questions is, where do you see yourself in the future? And I'm going to jump in and say where I see you in the future.
Okay.
Because fashion, even though it's behind a lot of times in the shoots, I think it also is like, it's in the field of advertising a lot of times,
Yeah.
regardless of what you're doing. And so I think that's going to be a huge part into VR. And I would not be surprised if, as VR comes into the public space, if you are one of the people that were making, because you have to make the virtual environment in order for your model. I'm going to guess that in the future, you're going to be working with, I'm not going to guess, this is what I want you to do. So, is you're going to be working with major brands, whether it's doing modeling for clothes or products, and you'd be making these virtual environments based on just your history of working with various sculptures. And then as well, just having that photography where you're working with models and having your photogrammetry experience, and then having that being placed inside of these amazing environments that you create. And it would be a bit branded because you have like kind of that experience. And I think you would be like a leader in ways that we haven't experienced. Because I mean, that's one thing your shit's crazy.
That's a lot. But thank you, man. Yeah.
I'm going to give you that task. I do that.
Yeah, I hope so. But I actually distance myself a little bit from fashion right now. I just focus on my own stuff.
No, well, that's fair. Well, then it's going to be your own stuff, and fashion people are going to want you, but you're going to say no.
Yeah, let's see. I don't know. Right now, I have mixed feeling about fashion. I do like the creative part of it, but also, like you said, mostly it's commercial related. So sometimes, yeah, it's all about selling the product. I'm not blaming on it, but right now, I'm focusing on my own personal project, which is called Perception Series. I want to scan all different body type, all different gender, all different race, all different, because body is something I always very interested in, because I been paint naked models when I was younger so many years, and then sculpture, the art industry, it's always about that. So I'm actually doing something without fashion. It's just naked bodies, but which
Yeah.
I actually feel happier. I don't know, because I just like it more. Also, I feel like it's not gonna go out of fashion, because human body is not gonna be out of fashion.
Right, right.
It's gonna stay. So I don't know how many I can do, but I want to do 100. So I just put the number here. So hopefully to next year, I will be able to finish 100 different people. So right now I'm every day just doing casting work. I'll just call modeling agency, but also, like some modeling, a lot of models, they just don't understand this either. So it's kind of difficult for me to get a model who's willing to be on this project, because they just like 3D, that's not me. That doesn't represent me. I didn't do this photo. But I was like, yes, you did. So it's another issue that fashion people don't really get, because you're just like, oh, that's not me. That's just an avatar. Also, I think because fashion people don't really understand 3D, so they work with these 3D artists. These 2-3 years, it become kind of like a trendy thing. Like the celebrity or influencer or magazine, they will collaborate with 3D artists, and then they create something just like a 3D avatar you see on Instagram all the time, and then they just put a name on it. like a celebrity's name. It
Right.
doesn't even look like that celebrity.
Right.
You know, so that put this thing in people's mind is like, if it's 3D, it's not gonna look like me anyway.
Right.
They just put name there. But 3D scan is so accurate, you have no idea that is you. I think for my work, I also try really hard to make it look as realistic as I can, but in a fancy word, kind of. So not realistic, but you know what I mean. Like the model wise, I do want them look like them,
Yeah.
100%, right? So right now, I do have some struggle, but I start to cast my friends in there. Most of my friends are super, cool. They just like, yeah, sure, I'll be naked for you, So some of them just like come, just like strip naked. I didn't ask for that. I was just like, no, like,
I'm ready.
I don't want to see your dick. Just like put some like pants on, whatever, like. But I'm lucky, like I'm surrounded by people who understand art, and a lot of them are artists. So it's easier for me to start that route. But now this perception issue, the series coming out a little bit. So I think some people see it. So models, they understand a bit more now. So it's a little bit easier to get models.
When you have a model, do you have to do any like directing like you would in a photo shoot? How is that process? Say for instance you have a great model coming in and they want their photogrammetry. What do you have to tell them to get them ready for the shoot? Or if I was there, what would you be like to me? Like, hey, step here, and then what? Like,
well, I think that sometimes life just make you go through a lot and then it will all make sense. So my dance background really helped that on that. Like I know how to move, I know poses, and 3D grammetry is really fast process. You only get one chance. Once it's click, that's it.
wow, right.
You cannot just keep taking photos like photography because there's only one chance.
Interesting.
You take it and there's like 200 photos already taken and the data is downloading. It will take so long to do another shot.
Whoa, really?
Yeah, also I think that, I don't know, like I'm really happy about my life experience now. Like I have never had any problem working with models. Even they are really new model, like they don't know how to pose. I'm just lucky. I done that, like I danced for so many years. So I know how to direct them and I just like put them in place and I just count 1, 2, 3 and then that's it.
Wow.
And I think it really helped my work to look different than other people's because other people, they don't know how, when they do photogrammetry, all the models just like standing in A pose or T pose, and then they try to
T-pose.
something, so either A pose or just like a standing idol pose. It just look boring, right?
Yeah.
It doesn't have that magic.
Yeah, and I feel like even when you have someone in a T-pose, I get it. It's like, oh, well, now I can model them however I want. But I feel like the weighting on a T-pose or on most models, you notice the bends. You notice
you do.
it doesn't look as good as somebody who actually just did the pose.
Yeah.
And I love too that I had no idea that you had to do it on a one take. It's very much like old school photography.
Exactly. Yeah. You take it and then you had to wait for the whole process. The fastest you will get is like hours, right? So that's like, no, like I'm talking about like film photography.
Oh, right. No, even more. You have to go to a whole different place to get it developed and everything.
Yeah.
How long will it take a photogrammetry for one shot?
An hour. No, like just take the shot really quick.
Yeah.
Just one shot, that's 1 second, and then download the data to the hardware and then process them and then just store them in a folder so you can have those data. It took like maybe 3 minutes, 4 minutes. It's fairly quick. It's a processing part that really pain in the ass.
Yeah. So you don't, even if you have two, you're really just going to pick one.
Yeah, because it just takes hours.
That makes right.
It depends on your computer. Right now, NYC-based 3D, they have pretty good computers, so it will take them 2 hours even. 2 hours to process one model. If I do it at home, I have to do it overnight. I just leave it on and then go to sleep. And next morning, and maybe even after a few coffees, it will be there. It's like 12 hours, I guess.
Wow. Yeah. Holy crap.
I know.
So, where do you see yourself going? I know you're working on this project, but what would be kind of like your ideal plan in the future? Like 4 years, 5 years, 10 years, 50 years?
I I don't know, but as we talk about it, I think anything if I planned it, it would never happen. I learned that lesson long time ago. So right now, I just want to make myself busy and doing something I like, and I don't have to listen to anyone. But I do have small strategy, but I don't think I want to talk about it. Small strategy just for myself. I don't think if it will happen or whatever. But people already calling me about NFT. I'm still thinking about it because I actually know how art industry work. I think NFT just another way for people to not pay tax. So, you know, I
It's a great way to store value.
yeah, I know art so well, but I also know some family recipe about art. So I'm just gonna do this whole series till I couldn't. I think that's what I set my goal as. But I think if I finish 99 models,
Yeah.
I will do 100 just me, myself. I will be the 100 naked model in my work.
Love that.
So yeah, if you guys want to see me naked, just
Oh,
keep liking
100%.
my Instagram post. Make me feel like okay, I can't do 100. Maybe I will quit after 20 or 30. Who knows? But
Yo, it's gonna happen, man. I mean, the fact that you are where you're at in just 4 months of doing 3D, I mean, I can't even.
6 months now. 6 months now. So don't scare people.
months.
6 months.
No worry.
I'm not that great.
I feel like though my first 6 months, it wasn't until I hit about my I mean, even into a year is when I really kind of started taking. I would say maybe 9 months. I did like dailies for an entire year from
Wow.
not doing 3D to doing 3D every single day. I had to post something regardless of how good or bad it was for 1 year. But it wasn't until, yeah, I would say the stuff I started to put on my reel was about at the 8-9 month marker where I was like, okay, I think I just compared. I'm a motion designer, and now I think this stuff is just as cool as my motion design work. And it looks good enough to be like, this could pass as commercial-esque work. But that's why I'm just like, man, you're just getting started. I can't wait to see what you produced.
I think the Adobe job actually really pushed me because
Right! Oh, we didn't even talk about that.
I told you, right? Because I really just started 3D in general, like the 3D software. I actually just start to use Cinema 4D for 2 weeks. And then I got my agent just like, hey, you're gonna be an ambassador for Adobe. So they want you to create some arts or short video for them. I was like, okay, are they gonna have set up like a whole shoots, right? With model, blah, blah, because I don't want to be in there, right? So that's my first thought. I'm a photographer. Do you think like a photographer? And then I had meeting with them. They like, oh no, for copyright issue, we actually don't have that kind of budget for you have a model in your, like shot. We prefer you just create something, maybe like your self-portrait or whatever, or something that represent you. And my agent somehow just like, oh, he can do 3D. I was like,
Easy.
and like I cannot just say I cannot, right? I just like,
Right.
yeah. So
Yeah. Yes, and
so I accept it and I fake it till I make it. So I was in Miami for a job, so they want the treatment overnight. They want to see something. So I had to
overnight.
yeah, so pretty much they gave me 3 days to present whatever I want. It's like I think people in 3D call it style frame, right?
Yeah.
And what the hell I know what style frame is. Like I was like, I have no idea.
Wow.
I only know photography references, I can sketch. Okay, so when I pitch idea, I do a lot of sketch because I'm not the best people who reference other photos, whatever. I never really do that. I don't reference other people's work. I do like old people's work. Like if they dead, I will reference you. So like, so I Googled everything, and I didn't sleep in Miami for 2 days. Plus, I was shooting, and then I went back to the hotel, just like Googled everything from very start, how to do this, how to do that, and then I create this style frame and send over to them. I just use a DAS 3D model, right? That's what I can find. I use a DAS 3D model, make it, tweak it a little bit, look like me, but not really. And then I put this Chinese hot pot on my head because I was like, I really don't know what I want. And just like, I do like hot pot. Okay, I'm just gonna put hot pot on my head, and I put a lot of environment that kind of made my art today. A lot of Renaissance, whatever stuff in that hot pot, and they actually really liked it. And then they're just like, okay, so you have 2 weeks to do this,
Wow.
And then if you could make it like a animation would be much easier for us. I was like, no way, like I cannot make animation. Right? So
But it looked like it was an animation, wasn't it?
yeah, but like luckily, so they pair me up with a psych studio.
Okay.
So I just did everything on my end, all the environment set up. I modeled that hot pot because I couldn't find the Chinese hot pot model online. Just saying, like Chinese people need 3D model too. Just make it, you guys. Like when I tried to Google like Chinese hot pot 3D model on like Turbo Square, whatever, I couldn't find it. I couldn't find anyone that really represent the Chinese style, So I had to make that hot pot. But because I had to make that hot pot, and I'm so bad at it, I went to Craigslist. I put this post. I said, looking for a Cinema 4D tutor. So I found a tutor, Paul. Thank you, Paul. Like you really helped me. So I've been meeting with that tutor on Zoom 2-3 times a week just to finish that thing. So he helped me a lot with that. Yeah, basically, I think that job really gave me so much knowledge. You just had to do it, otherwise you die. Just to that point. So, and after that, I send all these model to them, and then they come back to me. They're like, hey, is your model rigged? Can you rig them? I was like, no way, I cannot rig them. So
Definitely not.
and then I just Google a lot of things like how to animate dragon, blah blah, and then I find some solution. I just emailed them, I just talked to them, hey, what if we use this method, blah blah. And then it's a lot of back and forth, but they are so cool. They actually tweaked few angle, whatever. They didn't make a major change, but they make it small change that make it better, because my fairy in my shot was naked. So they had to put this t-shirt on the fairy and says Shxpir on top. I was just like, okay, cool. Like, where's my naked gay ass fairy? I want them.
What the fuck is this?
Yeah, but yeah, it's cool. I enjoying that. So after that, I think it really just make my Cinema 4D skill to another level. So I think sometimes you really just had to get that push, right?
Yeah, I mean, dude, 100%. And that's like 100% to just say yes and just do it.
Yeah.
That's a big part of the field, is pushing yourself. And the best way to do it is say yes even when the answer is no.
Yeah, I know. I hope Adobe doesn't listen to this. I still want to work with them in the future. I'm good now. I'm so good.
Yeah, it's amazing though that you got to, it's so funny. Everybody wants to work at a studio, but you got a studio to work with you. Like that's such a cool
Yeah, I'm
thing.
lucky. I'm just so lucky. Like I said, like anything in my life, if I planned, never happened. So now I learned my thing. Just don't plan anything. Just do whatever I feel right.
Wow.
At the moment, that's my life theory right now, I guess.
I love that. And I want to even mention too, just for anybody listening that might be thinking about it, because I did this when I'm working in VR now. I did kind of exactly what you did. I really wanted to learn VR, and I was looking up tutorials, and I just, not all of it was right or exactly what I wanted to do. So I hit up the guy that was doing the tutorials, and I was like, yo, can you sit with me like once a week? And every week now I get a professional tutorial from this kid, Vowagon. If you guys look up his tutorials, for anyone interested in VR chat and Unity, And he sits down with me every single week, and it's a game changer having a pro walk you through.
But I do think one-on-one, you actually learn much faster than go to a course or school.
It's unreal.
I think as an artist, especially 3D artist, besides the art history, I think even that you can just do it yourself. Once you know all this art knowledge, you already have whatever the art in your brain, and then you can just, I really think hire someone one-on-one. It's gonna be much cheaper than your tuition. Seriously.
Oh, 100%, especially if it's coming from college.
Yeah.
Because in a college class, you have to wait for everybody else to get their questions answered. It's only an hour. Then they come by and by the time the teacher gets to you, someone else next to you is wanting to ask questions. You get 3 minutes. But on a paid one-on-one session, because I was also getting stuck on things that would take me 2 hours of researching or just looking for, like, how do I get this? And now I'll save that question for my one-on-one session. He'll show me in 5 seconds. 5 seconds. I go through deep dives, and it's just the best money I've ever spent ever for learning.
One-on-one, just more specific, catered to you.
Yeah.
It's faster, and in a way, it definitely save your money. Imagine paying 20,000 or 30,000 a year in university, but you actually don't have that much. I mean, 30,000, seriously, you can hire a 3D generalist twice a week.
Right. Oh, exactly.
You know, not saying like you should do it, but you know, like, but I don't know if people want to do it either. You know, like 3D generalists, they probably not. I'm not gonna do it either. But you know, like, I think for that money, yeah, you definitely can hire someone.
Oh, 100%. Especially for anybody like in Unity. I'm trying to get into VR, and there's a lot of coding stuff. And it's just coding is so complicated, but he is so good at just getting me an effect I want. I just did a new little Nas video. I don't know if you saw his one where he's in jail and he kind of breaks out the new one. But he's in the jail yard dancing and stuff. So I made it so you have to like walk out into the jail yard section. But I thought it would be so cool if there were spotlights, like the jail yard watchtowers, and if the lights were on you and would follow you as you run around the yard, and the huge music video was there.
Right.
But it was like something that I probably would have spent a day trying to figure out, and so much stress. He's just like, okay, let's do a little coding. And we just typed 4 lines of little code. And boom, I got the most amazing experience, and it's an adrenaline high, and it's so fun. Like, making art's so fun. I can't recommend enough getting a tutor if you're ever having problems or stuck or you're learning a new program. Do some tutorials to learn basics, and then once you want to get really hard into some cool stuff, it's just fun to think of something and be like, how do I make that? And they're just like, let's do it. Let's go ahead and make it.
Yeah, exactly. You're totally right.
So I just want to ask 2 or 3 questions here. This has been just such a fun talk, man. I've been loving this.
I'm afraid you have like problem editing now. It's so like we talk so much.
This is like one of the longest. I knew as soon as you started telling me you were a professional dancer and I didn't know that, I was like, oh my God, we have so much to cover, man. Like,
I danced for some big ass celebrity before. No, I'm kidding.
Yeah, this is going to be a part 1 of 10 podcasts. No.
Yeah, my story is not that interesting.
Compared to me, where you want to hear my story? I lived in a farm. No, I'm just kidding. It wasn't a farm. But it was...
Actually, when I was younger, I lived in the mountains.
That's you?
True. Yeah, the first time my family moved to the city was when I was 12. Yes. So only mountains after dawn, there's no light, like that kind of mountain I'm talking about.
See, we need more podcasts. We're going to have multiple episodes here.
Yeah, and now I'm in New York. Imagine.
The story, man. I love personal story. I love hearing about the journey.
It's crazy.
Yeah, the journey is also like, for anybody too that's new to the field, or even just still, I mean, it's always just a nice reminder to just remember, like, man, it was a tough journey, or it was a crazy journey. Like, sometimes you don't realize you're in the good moments until later.
Yeah,
You
yeah,
know, when I was shooting just music videos with my friends and doing basic little motion graphics at a coffee shop, sitting at
yeah.
Caribou Coffee for 8 hours with my laptop.
Yeah, I know. I do miss my old days sometimes. I feel like you younger, you just feel more creative and you worry less about realistic life
Yeah.
or more. But now there's other things you had to worry, and I feel like then people just not really work that hard for their art or creativity.
Yeah, 'cause it's like you make it, or you're not. Maybe
Yeah.
it's just kind of, I don't know.
But I'm trying to get back there,
Yeah,
so that's what I'm doing right now because I hate seeing myself just making a lot of money, but like depressed. I had that time, but now I'm much better.
yeah.
So,
I can't really talk too much about my corporate job, but yeah, I'm at a corporate place now, and it's kind of like the creative struggle is just always going to be there when you're at a
mhm,
corporate place, but the money is just like, like get me.
right.
I can't
Yeah.
even comprehend it. That's why they pay so much, I think.
Yeah.
But yeah, you got to find out ways to just be creative and to do, like, I'm
Mm.
doing some fun projects, like you're doing some awesome art projects. You just got to start. I did my 365 dailies. That was fun.
Damn, that's crazy. Yeah, I can't do daily. I cannot.
Yeah, it's a mental struggle, and I don't even want to get into it too much because it's a long story, but I definitely feel like recently just getting into, again, another reason why having someone who does tutoring with you is great is because you get pushed every year where you're like, I don't want to fucking do this, like going to the gym almost, and then you do it,
Yeah.
you're like, this is amazing, I'm inspired, I just made the coolest shit ever.
Yeah.
And
Yeah.
working in VR has totally given me that spark back, and like now I know how to make cool stuff in VR. So,
Uh-huh.
which leads me into my next question. What do you think about VR and AR? Have you tried it yet? Are you doing anything in that field of work or playing games? Do you have a headset?
I don't own any headset because I actually played few games with my friend. He is actually my friend's brother. So every Christmas I would visit them in San Jose. That's a routine now. So I went there and then his brother always have all these crazy tech gadget. Whatever new is out, he always have it. PS5, he had it.
Right,
Like
right.
it's just like that kind of dude. So I played the VR game with him a little bit. I think that's my arrogant ass. Like I will only like things when it become pretty.
Mm.
I think VR right now it's still in that rough age. It's just remind me 15, 16 years ago when we started 3DX Max.
Yep.
It's ugly. It's not so high res. There's not much detail or even a color, or the whole model is not that great because I think you had to maintain a really low polygon count. So that's my bad because that's why I learned Flash, because Flash software is so flashy back then. And now it's out of the day. But now like I'm doing whatever, I just like pretty things. First of all, I'm shallow. I like things that look good first. So I think I will wait for a little bit for VR to develop a little bit more, because right now if I get into it, I know I'm not able to make things that I like, that I would just get struggle.
Fair enough.
I don't like that part of me because I know even back when I was work for artists, if there's task or installation, I know it's not gonna be, for example, either budget or whatever or time. If we can't make that look good, I just choose not to do it because I don't want to have, just for me, because when I see half-ass down work, I just hate myself so much. I know me.
Right.
AR, I'm actually working on a AR project right now with a London-based magazine. They're really cool. You guys had to look at them. They call Cyber, CYBR. So they are a new magazine, but they doing it all in AR. So every page, if you scan it, there will be something coming up. So
Wow.
I'm doing a cover story for them. So I did a 3D scan, I create environment, I will do animation with them. But at the same time, again, it's a problem is AR, you had to be maintain the size really, really, really small.
Yeah.
That struggle me because I want all these pretty little thing there and there a little bit we couldn't have it. So now what we is doing is I'm just trying to make our model as low as possible. But if we do that, we lost the skin texture and all these mixed texture. She looks so plasticky, and the frame rate is so like it just doesn't
Yeah.
look smooth, and the color is not accurate. So I am struggling with it, but I had to say it looks cool. It looks
There we
cool.
go.
So yeah, I definitely think I'm not perfect. I just have my issue, and I know my issue. So sometimes I would just wait for things a little bit better than I would just get into it. So
Yeah, no, 100%. Especially with using AR, because a lot of time that's using processing power off your phone versus, and even still like the Oculus headsets, those ones are using just processing power in the headset. And so it's
yeah.
still very limiting. But then when I use my index, it's like you have unlimited power. But the thing is that's also such a limited small market. So there's a lot of that barrier to get over in the market. But yeah, and it is interesting too, because with the processing power, it requires rendering on both eyes. So it's like you instantly cut down.
Right, that makes sense.
So there's definitely barriers to overcome, but I think it's like you said, it feels 10 to 15 years. I always say that we're in the PlayStation 1 graphics phase of VR, like it's gonna get good.
I wait till PlayStation 4 then got it. 'Cause PlayStation 1, 2, 3. I look at it as like, I'll play computer game. It's okay. But and then like PlayStation 4, okay, I saw the Spider-Man game. I was just like, damn, that looks so good. So I bought my first PlayStation.
That is too funny.
I'm such a shallow little gay. Like, I guess I just always a visual person. I think visual aspect is the first coming to me to decide doing something or not, I guess.
Yeah.
I'm sorry. Like, I'm not the technical person. I'm the least technical person you probably ever talked to. I know nothing about Cinema 4D. If you see how I work, you're gonna laugh at me because I just like, seriously, I do my movement frame by frame. Not kidding. Yeah, I know.
I love that's probably a secret to why your eye is so good. You refuse to look at anything that's not up to your standard of beauty. Just
It really just not about that. I just don't want to create that. To
Yeah.
me, like I really don't mind. And I think people have good eyes, different eyes. They use very low poly stuff and then they create something super cool. I actually really, really respect that. But I guess I'm just kind of old school in a way because my main influence is coming from all these classic art like Renaissance or, Rococo, Baroque. They all have crazy detail.
right.
I mean, if you look at my work, you kind of get where I come from. Is I use a lot of symmetrical composition or golden ratio. Sometimes I didn't even think about it, but like when I finish it, I just like, damn it, that's just, again, sometimes I try to break my rule, but I couldn't. But I guess that's just every people's issue. I'm just good at one thing. I'm not good at everything.
Yeah. I want to have a virtual VR meetup, so I'm gonna have to lend you a headset or something so you can get at least a taste. If for as long as your eyes can bear to stare at
I
night.
mean, yeah. I actually seen videos like that. I think it's super fun. Like,
Yeah.
it's like you have your own avatar, and people have all these fucked up things. It's like a mattress or whatever. I was just like, that's kind of funny,
Yeah, dude, it's anything you want. It's also with VR chat, at least, I think it's the wild west of the internet. It's like,
Yeah.
it can be anything and whatever your brain imagines. People can make any avatar, any
Yeah.
worlds, and there's just no laws right now.
Yeah, I know.
You're just seeing like 100 little weird leprechauns running around screaming at you, where's my pot of gold? You're like, what is happening right now? I don't know. It's a fun experience, but I can talk forever about it. And this has been a great episode. Thank you so much for
Thank you.
being on and sharing your interesting life and all
Thank you for having me.
Yeah, man. Well, thanks so much.